Hello and welcome to Sensational South. I'm Harish Upadhyaya. Over the next 30 minutes, we bring you all the major news and newsmakers from across South India. Our top story today comes from Kerala. After the landslide in Wayanad, there's a fresh flashpoint. It's over the ESA draft notification. It's a question of saving nature versus saving livelihoods. How will this now pan out? We'll debate this, but first the story.
Wayanad is still picking up the pieces after twin landslide wreaked havoc in the district, killing hundreds in its path. As the gravity of the situation sinks in, the central government reissued a draft notification to declare over 56,000 square kilometers of Western Ghats as ecologically sensitive. Add to it, Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change blamed the Kerala government for the disaster by allowing illegal human habitat expansion and mining. This triggered a massive verbal battle between the state and the centre.
It's clearly a illegal protection by the local politicians to illegal human habitation. Even in the name of tourism, they are not allowing, they are not making a proper zone, and they allowed basically encroachment of this area. We feel that number one, human habitation, number second, illegal mining activity in the protection by the local government, and it's very shameful thing. They must protect the nature and protect the human life also.
The Kerala Chief Minister was quick to respond to the Union Minister's allegation and hit out at him, saying that anyone with even a basic understanding of Kerala's hilly regions would not label the inhabitants as illegal migrants.
He said the landslide happened due to illegal encroachment of forest land by people with the help of Forest Department. This is a false claim. Through this false claim, he is insulting the people who went through this landslide. A lot of people lost their life. They shouldn't be insulted this way. Are you saying the ones who died are encroachers? Are the estate workers encroachers? They brought a small piece of land with their hard-earned money.
The draft bill proposes to declare 9,993.7 square kilometers in Kerala as eco-sensitive area. This includes 13 villages in 2 taluks of Wayanad. The Congress is calling for a wider consultation with affected people.
Absolutely devastating. It may, in the end, be the worst death toll of any tragedy in Kerala. I think right now we have to focus on the essentials. What are the essentials? First is relief. That seems to be well in hand. Of course, people are reaching out, opening their hearts and their wallets and giving whatever they can.
Karnataka has started evicting forest encroachers close to the Western Ghats, and the government says that a decision on whether to implement the centre's fresh draft notification would be taken only after discussing the issue in the state cabinet and with other leaders of all political parties. With lives and livelihood at stake, the implementation of Kasturi Rangan committee report is likely to witness a lot of politics in southern states in the coming days.
To take this debate forward, we have an eminent panel joining us today. We have Ms. Vineeta Hariharan, spokesperson of the BJP, Mr. C.R. Neelakandan, environmentalist from Kerala. We have Professor Dinesh Varshni, leader of CPI. I'll come to you, Mr. Neelakandan, first. It's a question of saving nature. At the same time, it's a question of saving lives and livelihood. Is there a middle ground here, sir?
First of all, this notification based on Kasturi Rangan report is unscientific, and it is not the will of the people. To remember, this report came as an after effect of Madhav Gadgil committee report, which was more and more holistic, which is not just a notification type of thing. This area, nobody should be there. It's like that. It had asked for a local level, Gram Sabha level consultation of the report in every panchayat, and each panchayat and Gram Sabha can decide which is the area to be declared as ecologically sensitive. Now, actually, as far as I am concerned, I am not worried of ecologically sensitive now. I am disaster sensitive. I am more worried about disaster. Now I don't talk about ecology anymore because ecological impacts are the symptoms or maybe the reasons. But the effect is what happened in Wayanad. It is really a real horrendous tragedy that we have seen. So my point is whether this notification is right or wrong, that is a trivial question. It should be actually discussed threadbare from Gram Sabhas and all. This was not done. This is a unilateral action. So there will be problem with that. I am for the protection of environment, but not protection just like through a notification. It will not happen. We can see any laws to protect environment were a failure when it is not supported by the people, the local people. So there are middle grounds. I agree, but it should be come through discussions.
Yes, true. It needs to be discussed. Professor, I'll come to you now. The Kerala government of the last week or so, we have seen multiple controversies. The first was on whether there was a warning. What sort of a warning was that? Then you had the Union Minister for Forest and Environment coming out and saying that we did not clear any major projects. It was the Kerala government which has cleared it. What is the assurance that Kerala government now will give people that it will ensure that this ecologically fragile region will be safeguarded without compromising on the livelihoods?
Look, there has to be a balancing act both the sides. You just cannot say environmental protection. You'll have to see the people's protection also, people's livelihood also, both the things. You cannot say no to the tourism. You cannot say no to the new settlements. You cannot say that you cannot live in that area. I agree with the Mr. Neelakandan, what he said. Look, it is for the local people. They are wise enough to decide which is the sensitive area from the landslide point of view or disaster point of view. That has to be decided. As far as controversy is concerned, it is clear Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, have lied in the Parliament, and the privilege motion is pending there by the Congress, by the CPI and CPIM, and left parties there in the Parliament.
But
against Mr. Home
Professor, I'll quickly come to your point saying that you should leave it to the people. I was in Mundakai, and some of those tourist homes were very close to the forest.
Look, Hari, you cannot say that 9,900 kilometers, almost all 10,000 square kilometers should be left people-less. Can you do it in Assam? You have built a Commonwealth Games in the Jamuna Bangar in Delhi, which is a ecologically sensitive area. Any day flood comes on the route of 500-year-old, the entire area will go away in the floods. You see, development takes place. You have to have the balancing act between both, the people and the environment, both. You have to have a wider consultation with all the political parties, all the stakeholders, all the villagers, all. At the same time, a government has to also see you have allowed to cut the 1 lakh trees and Rajdev Jungle in Jharkhand. What is that? You see, you cannot say wherever there is no BJP. Wherever there is no BJP government, you have an environment sensitive area. Wherever there is a BJP government, there is no environment sensitive area. This policy can't be.
Okay, since you mentioned BJP, I'll quickly get in Ms. Hariharan. Ms. Hariharan, this has been on the table since 2014, ma'am. The first draft came in 2014. We are in 2024. Why is it that we have failed to generate a consensus among states and ensure that there is a mechanism where you can also assure people that their lives won't be affected? All we have seen is it's ended up being a political issue.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to express deep condolences to the families of the victim and this, of the deceased in this huge tragedy that has taken place in Kerala and Wayanad district. So it's not the first time that Kerala is subject to such disasters. We've just recently seen a repeated spate of floods in the state of Kerala. And that was also because of a lot of rampant construction, haphazard development taking place in the very ecologically sensitive state as it is, per se, the state itself is very ecologically sensitive. But nevertheless, this particular place, Lepadi Panchayat, was very, very vulnerable to, landslides and floods. And therefore, the construction had to be restricted. So that is what we are saying, restricted construction and balanced development. Yes, I agree it has to be balanced, but it cannot be rampant concrete jungles being constructed in vulnerable zones, which have repeatedly been warned by different committees, like right in the govt and the Kasturi Rangan. And then afterwards, it was in 2014 that these notifications were again brought to the table by this present government. And there were several notifications after that. There were several rounds of discussions and consensus building with the state governments. But the state governments want to capitalize on this, on this land, which is so ecologically sensitive. It's one of the 8 biodiversity spots declared by UNESCO. So therefore, every land has to be treated differently by the nature of that particular land. So this is not about leaving it to the people. While we agree that people's participation is required, but we also need to educate, we also need to sensitize the people, sensitize the local government about the ecologically fragile area in which we are staying. So therefore, we cannot leave it completely to the hands of the people, but we also
But the allegation is that the BJP takes this stance in Kerala because politically it's easy. They are not in power, they don't have anything to lose. But when it comes to Karnataka, they were in power, they did not do much about the same report and the same ESA draft notification.
But which state had the disaster? Where are we seeing the disaster? It's in the state of Kerala where the disasters happen. Therefore, there needs to be introspection. There needs to be a complete overhaul of the building rules and the building bylaws that are applicable in the state of Kerala. That's all we are saying. We're not saying this is not politicizing the event. It's taking, introspection. It is reviewing the cause of the tragedy, which is what is the duty of the Ministry of Environment and Forest, which is what they're doing. They're retrospecting. They're seeing what has gone wrong, and if it is not completely the fault of any particular government. It has to be a consensus building. It is a cooperative federalist structure between the union and the state. We have to decide and come out with a balanced formula. Yes, I agree.
Neelakandan, you've seen this whole process, sir. As an environmentalist, you've seen this process up close. Is there a way out now? We have seen a lot of politics. Also, politically, electorally, it's a sensitive issue for any politician of any political party. Is there a way out now? Yes, those 2 villages hit by landslide might move away, you might create a new village. But what about other places?
That's the question. Now, what we requested as environmentalists in Kerala, there should be a total disaster-prone area to be identified, not ecologically sensitive area. Ecologically sensitive is different thing. Because, see, there is encroachment in forest. That is one thing. But this is not by just encroachment in forest. We construct buildings where the disaster can occur. See, the landslide happened in some forest area or estate area. But the effect was in the, populated area like Mundakai. Now it's not populated, Mundakai or Churalmala, where it was highly populated. So the problem is where people can stay, where people can construct, where people can temporarily travel. Actually, now it's not ecological area. I would like a disaster-prone areas to be classified in Kerala, because Kerala is highly vulnerable. I agree. Because of the climate crisis, we know any amount of rain can come any time. And the slope of Kerala and very small bits of Kerala and very high slope of Kerala is making it highly dangerous to live. Not only hill area, it is actually even the coastal area, even in the midland area, life is difficult. And population density is very high in Kerala. We have to consider social factors, economic factors and everything. Now, you told about livelihood. Actually, what happened is, here now the question may be not that is livelihood or ecology. The other way, life and livelihood. Whether you require life or livelihood. If there is a question like that, you will come with the life, not with the livelihood. So, the term development, when we define, it should be primary consideration, not ecology, but disaster. That is my point.
Dinesh, 2 important questions here. The floods happened, then there was another landslide in 2019, after which the Kerala government also said we will have a new mechanism, we will rebuild Kerala. But the question is, what did it do to ensure that some of these regions which were already identified as landslide prone are safeguarded? As Mr. Neelakandan is saying, that we'll have to look at disaster prone areas now, not just ESA.
whom are you asking?
Professor Dinesh Warne, if you can hear me, there are two questions here. The Kerala government, after the floods and the landslides, said that they will rebuild Kerala. There's a new outlook. Now there are questions on what did it do to ensure that some of these areas, which are already identified as landslide prone, are safeguarded. There's no human habitation.
We have already said that we will go for wider consultations. We will also go for the environmental concerns and ecological concerns. But at the same time, we'll have to see the concern of the people also. That is the primary thing. And this confrontation between ecology and human being has happened always throughout the span of the emergence of human beings from the one place to another place and all these things. So I do agree with Shri Neelakandan that we have to consensuously reach to a consensus with the consultation of all stakeholders and others, that which are the most sensitive area for
The
disaster.
huge challenge for the Kerala government now is one, the population density in Kerala is more than any other state in South. Second, in terms of their finances too, they are constrained. How do you approach this problem now? You will need a huge helping hand from the centre.
Center should understand this thing. Why should Kerala government should understand it? Center should understand that people are settling in Kerala because of development, because there is no corruption. People are helping each other. People are very secular minded. There is no communalism. There is like this thing. That is why people are transferring themselves to the settling in the Kerala. This happens everywhere in the world. Wherever there is a safe zone, people go there. The central government should understand this thing. Grant more and more funds to the Kerala. Grant more and more projects of safety to the Kerala. This is it is the duty of the central government under the federal character of the Indian Constitution that the government of India should understand that Kerala is India. It is not out of India.
Okay. Ms. Hariharan, it will all boil down to this now. Kerala and perhaps even Karnataka would seek funds from the union government, saying that if we have to relocate these people and these villages, then we'll need money from the centre to do that. Is the union government willing to do that, ma'am? Because you're looking at a huge area.
The union government has already stepped up, and there have been numerous efforts that have been taken place in the particular landslide affected areas of Wayanad. So it's there for all to see the kind of efforts that is being put out by the union government, the army, the NRDF response forces, Modi government declaring 2 lakh for the diseased family and 50,000 for those affected. So apart from this, also we will be seeing much more coming in from the central government, and this is a disaster that has affected our country, and it's not a particular state. So every state is part of India for the union government. So definitely every response and every support would be forthcoming from the union government in such a national tragedy. As so far as as long as the state government is willing to cooperate and willing to collaborate with the central government on such nationally important issues, it's beyond lives. I mean, it's beyond livelihoods and lives. It's about nation building. It's about protecting the people of this particular country. So that is what is the ethos of the union government.
Yeah. Well, it's an issue that will continue for coming few months and years at least. We are absolutely out of time on this debate. Thank you, Ms. Vineeta Hariharan, Mr. C.R. Neelakandan and Professor Dinesh Warne. Well, it's not just consensus among people. Perhaps you will also need consensus among political parties in the state and the union government if this report has to be in any way implemented in the Western Ghats region, especially in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Well, that was the top story, the top debate on the show. On the other side, we'll get you more stories from across South India.